All right, let's talk about keyword research. Now, if you think it's still just about finding words with the highest search volume, well, you're playing by a rulebook that's seriously out of date. The game has completely changed. So let's dive into what it takes to win in 2026. And boom, right there, that's the big shift. For years, the whole game was find the most popular keyword, write a post. Simple. But today, that's just a recipe for creating content that nobody ever sees. The new playbook is all about intent. You have to understand why someone is searching, not just what they're searching for. And this number? This is exactly why that shift to intent is so incredibly important. 58.5%. That's a huge number. So what on earth is it? Yeah, you heard that right. Nearly 60% of the time someone searches on Google, they don't click on anything, not a single blue link. Why? Because they get their answer right at the top of the page from an AI overview or a little answer box. We call these zero-click searches. So if your whole strategy is just to get a click, you're fighting for a piece of the pie that's getting smaller every single day. So let's just be crystal clear about this. The entire search landscape has been rebuilt from the ground up. Chasing high-volume keywords without understanding intent is a losing strategy, guaranteed. You're making content for a world that just doesn't exist anymore. You've got to adapt. So how do we adapt? Well, it starts right here. It starts before you even think about opening Ahrefs or SEMrush. The most critical work happens before you touch any tools, and it's all about strategy. Seriously, this one step is what separates the content that truly crashes it from the content that just exists. Okay, so before you look for a single keyword, you have to become an expert on the business. I mean, really dive in. Read their About Us page, understand their products, figure out who their audience is and what they're actually trying to sell. Here's a cool trick. You can dump all that info into an AI like ChatGPT to get a nice summary. But, and this is super important, you have to then go validate that in the real world. Go to places like Reddit, where real people are having raw, unfiltered conversations. And hey, here's a killer pro tip that just drives this point home. This is such a great technique. Find a subreddit where your ideal customers hang out. Grab that URL, plug it into a tool like Ahrefs Site Explorer, and see what keywords that community is ranking for. You immediately stop guessing and start seeing exactly what language your audience uses and what they truly care about. This is gold. All right, so now that you've done your homework and you've got that solid strategic foundation, it's time for the fun part, the actual keyword hunt. But we're not just making a random list here. We're looking for real, validated opportunities that line up with our goals. Let's get into it. Everything kicks off with what we call seed keywords. These are the big core concepts for the business. You know, things like email marketing or sustainable fashion. But here's the key thing to remember. These are not your final keywords, not even close. Think of them like anchors or maybe the starting point on a treasure map. They just get you pointed in the right direction. So from those little seeds, you've got to grow your list. And for that, you need the right tools in your belt for 2026. You'll use tools like SEMrush to find what your competitors are doing and Ahrefs to build out topic clusters. That's groups of related content. Google's own planner is still great for figuring out commercial value. And you absolutely need to use tools like Answer the Public to find all those question-based keywords that people are typing into AI and voice search. Okay, so now you've got this awesome, massive list of potential keywords. You're done, right? Time to celebrate? Not so fast. This is the exact moment where most people fail. They have a list of what to target, but they have no idea if they can actually win. Here's the step that almost everyone skips, and it's an absolute game changer. You must manually search for your top keywords. Go to Google, type them in, and just look at the results. Is the first page all product pages from stores? Well, then your ultimate guide to blog post has basically zero chance of ranking there. It's called search intent misalignment, and it will kill your content before it ever has a chance. You know, SEMrush puts it perfectly here. This whole process is about swapping guesswork for real data-driven demand. You stop creating content that you think might be helpful, and you start creating content that Google is already telling you people are actively searching for. All right, now we're getting to the fun part. We've got our validated, intent-checked list of keywords. Now we get to turn that raw list into an actual, actionable blueprint that's going to guide all of our content creation for months. But before we get to that framework, you need to see this number. Over 90%. What is that? Well, that's the slice of all search traffic that comes from what we call long-tail keywords. Those longer, super specific phrases. They're way less competitive, and the people searching them are usually much closer to making a decision. That's where the magic happens. So here it is, a simple 4-step framework to map all this out. First, you go after those long-tail keywords to get some quick, easy wins. Second, you start planning your long-term attack on the big, difficult keywords by building topic clusters. Third, you group everything by user intent. Are they looking to learn or are they looking to buy? And finally, you have to map out content that answers questions directly so you can show up in those AI search results. And the last thing to really get in your head is this: you're never done. This isn't a project you do once, check it off the list, and forget about. Great keyword research is a cycle. It's a living, breathing process of optimizing, adapting, and always looking for an edge. So what does that actually look like day to day? Well, here are your quickest wins. Make sure you're reviewing your whole strategy at least once a quarter. Live inside your Google Search Console. It's free and it's full of gold. Look for keywords where you're already ranking on page 2. That's the low-hanging fruit. A little push there can lead to huge results. And hey, if your article is getting seen but not clicked, fix your title. It's that simple. And if you're still not convinced, if you're thinking, wow, this sounds like a lot of work, just look at this. The numbers do not lie. When you just throw content out there hoping something sticks, your return is tiny. But when you follow a strategic process like this, the return on your investment over time is absolutely astronomical. The difference is the process. And that really brings us to the one question you need to ask yourself. Is the content you're creating right now just a cost, an expense on a spreadsheet? Or are you treating it like a true long-term asset, an investment that's going to grow and pay you back for years and years to come? It's your call.